Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So in part one of this video, you saw me harvesting the compost that we used in the hotbed from last year. And you saw what lovely amount of compost that we got from that. And what we're going to do today is we're going to start setting up the hotbed again. So if you've seen the video that I did last year on how I set this hotbed up, I'm going to make a few changes to the way I did it last year to generate more heat and be able to store that heat rather than just lose it all. So come on, let's go and show you what I'm doing this year that's different. So if you remember last year, I used a 1 ton bag and I slid it into my hotbed bay and tried filling that up. But I don't think that really worked very well, because what happened was the bag lost its shape and a lot of the compost, as the compost sunk, the bag lost its shape and the plants were way below, and then the tops of the bag were getting in the way of the plants, and it reduced the amount of space that we had to grow in. So what I'm going to do this year is rather than use the bag and fit it in like I did last year, I've got another bag that has been cut up. I mean, we'd cut it up for a different reason, for lining the old pond. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to staple this into place actually. So I'm going to actually start off by stapling this bag into place rather than use the bag and try and fit it into place. So let's get this corner in nicely. There we go. What I'm hoping for is that this bag will hold its shape better, and then I'll be able to then I'll have that much more growing space rather than the limited amount that we had when the bag fell over last time. And it's good to line these pallet bins so the wood doesn't rot as quickly. And that's one of the things that tends to happen with these bags, with these pallets, is when you use them like this, they do tend to rot. Okay, so now we've got the liner in place, we're ready to start putting in our material to generate our heat. So we're going to start off with a load of wood chips. And these wood chips are about a month old, so they're not that old, but they've had a good soak in the rain, and that's why I'm putting these really soaked wood chips at the bottom. The reason that I've put a lot of soaked wood chips in at the bottom is because what tends to happen is, even though you water them from the top, the water never actually gets all the way to the bottom. That's one of the problems that I've found. So the bottom, because we're not going to turn this that often, the bottom can stay dry. So we'll use the really soaked, heavily soaked ones at the bottom. So I'm going to get the front in place now. Just like last time, I'm going to tie it in. I'm just going to use a piece of string and tie it. There was a man by the name of Jean Pain in France. He was able to generate so much heat that he was able to generate enough heat to heat his house. And we're not going for that sort of giant operation, but his wood chip pile was probably the size of my greenhouse. We're not going for that sort of operation. We just want a little bit of heat to keep this place from freezing over winter. So now I've got the front on, I'm just going to level all these wood chips out and give us a nice even base to start off. There we go. There we go. Nice. So what I've got here is a piece of copper pipe, and it's 15mm copper pipe, so it's quite flexible, and it's something that I used in a rocket mass heater. It's something that I used in a rocket mass heater to heat the water for the children's paddling pool before. But they've stopped using that, and the paddling pool popped, and we used that for a pond liner. So this was made redundant. So I'm going to put this to some use again, and I'm going to use this as, again, I'm going to use it in the same principle. I'm going to use it as a heater for my compost pile, and it's going to, this is what's going to conduct the heat. And it's not quite long enough, so I've got a little bit of hose as well. So it's ordinary garden hose. It got a few holes in it. Rather than throw it away, we're going to use what's left, the good part, for this. I mean, I can't get it on at the moment. It's too warm. it's too cold and the pipe's rigid. So what I've got is a cup of hot water. I'm just going to heat the end in there so it just becomes a little bit more flexible. And once it's got that little bit of ply in it, it should go on a bit easier. I should be able to get it on. So even with that little bit of hot water trick, it's still not warming up. It's still not stretching far enough for me to get that pipe on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my pliers in there, and I'm going to just open the pliers gently so it just stretches it a little bit. Now that should just give me enough scope to get it on, and we're on. There we go. So that'll be okay, I think. Now I'm just going to tighten it on with a Jubilee clip. So Jubilee clip over the end. And where's those screwdrivers gone? Right, let's go get this into place now. It's going to be kind of fiddly to get this into place while everything's made up and set up. So just watch me fumble about a little bit. What I want to do is I want coils going up the compost pile. If I coil my pipe up, and not too many coils at each level, and then I'm going to drop it into place, and I'm going to try and pull it through. So there's lesson one. The coils want to go the other way. Okay. So that's the first bit. Now I'm going to get more material on top of there. Let's get that away from the edge, more into the centre. Just going to get some more material over the top so I can hold my pipe in place, and then I can get my rake out again, I hope. There we go, there it's out. And this is all I'm adding so far is just pure wood chip. I'm not adding anything else. So that's the first level of the pipe, almost covered. I'll just level that out, and then we'll get some different materials on here. Okay, there we go. So like I did with my leaf mold pile, what I've got is a length of drain pipe, and I've drilled some holes into that, and so I'm just going to put that into the middle of this pile, and that's going to be a source of air to try and aerate this pile a little bit more. I mean, ideally it might want a couple more of these pipes, but I think this will be okay. I mean, ideally what people do with this, they'll go out and buy a long length of pipe. Now I'm just using the scraps that I've got at home to try and replicate what the professionals do. This copper pipe is quite flexible. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make these loops a little bit bigger, so I can get them in and they can go around the compost pile a bit more. See, but I still want to focus on the centre because that's where most of the activity, the heat's going to be generated. So I'm just going in crude circles, trying to make it a little bit bigger, and all the soot's rubbing off onto me, and I'm going to end up with black stains on my jumper, and my wife's going to love me for that. Yeah, let's get this into place now. There we go. That's going to be a bit better, I think. I mean, copper's quite expensive, so I wouldn't go out and buy copper for this. I'd just try, if you've got a long length of hose, that's all I'd use. I want this loop, this end, just to go in through the hole on where the rain pipe collector would normally fit. So I'm just going to tie that in place. There we go. I'll do it. So now that I've got my copper piping in place, as I'm filling it up, I'll lift it a level each time. So now let's go and get some more material. I'm just lifting this copper piping out each time as I'm doing it, so it spreads through the compost pile, sort of like that. So that's the position I want it in. Hopefully it'll stay. I'm not too confident on it, but hopefully it'll stay. Let's go get some more material. So I've set my water butt up in here, and this is going to be acting as my battery, and this is going to store the heat energy from the compost pile. So all I've done is I've put a slab at the bottom, and then I put the footings for the stand for the water butt on, and then I put the water butt in place. It'd be good if I could get this to connect up to get the rainwater from the roof of the greenhouse to fall into here. That way I could use that same water to water the rest of the greenhouse, because even though it's winter, some of the plants that are going to be growing in here are still going to need water. So I'll figure that bit out afterwards. Right, I've got another water butt just outside the greenhouse that's collecting water there, but we'll figure that out afterwards. Let's get this set up first. So it's a bit disappointing, because the water pressure that I've got at the moment is giving me the flow. It's flowing to about there. So when the pipe's at that level, then it flows. But once I raise it to the hole that it needs to be at, it stops flowing. So it's just not generating enough water pressure. So my only other option now is to try and raise this about a foot, and with the legs that it's on, it becomes really unstable once you start raising these things. So I'm a bit worried about that, but I'm a bit umming and ahhing on what to do now, because I don't want it too high either, because I don't want it to become dangerous, because my mum comes in here. It's a bit disappointing really. So I'm gonna have a think about it overnight. I put a lot of thought into this, and it's quite draining. So I'm gonna have another little think about it and see what I can do.